So I probably could have done this, back in 2020, but of course, a lot of stuff went down, and, Roro was, upon us, so, and of course, well, we had to wait until next year. Well, us in the US, anyways, had to wait until next year for the movie to come out. Which, thank God, it finally did. So, yeah, and you know what? It's been a while since I've done one of these. So, I really, 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 really need to do one. So, yeah. So, anyways, let's talk about Sponge on the Run. Okay, so the third, SpongeBob movie, as people are calling it, I must say, it's very different compared to, the other two. Why? Well, because, it doesn't have the traditional, 2D animation, but 3D animation, which, you know what, I must say, is very good. Oh, and there's also a few live action bits in this as well. I mean, I know that's what the SpongeBob movie had, Sponge Out of Water had too, but yeah. But I must say, this is an absolute, gem, wow. Although I must say, when it came to, seeing this being released in other parts of the world, like Canada, I have to tell ya, it's so annoying when people already post spoilers, ugh. Canada, please, can you, some of us in the US have YouTube too, and we don't have it yet, so please, can you please post your spoilers until, until the movie is finally released to the US, because we from the United States haven't seen it yet. Yeah, so, now, basically the movie, pretty much just opens up, like in a different, sort of intro. Basically we get talking about Bikini Bottom and, a lot of other things that go on. And of course, we get, the usual stuff we've seen in the cartoon, like SpongeBob and Patrick annoying Squidward, Sandy being smart, Mr. Krabs being sheep, and a lot of other things, etc. And of course, Plankton trying to steal the Krabby Patty formula, as usual. But here's interesting way, but here's something interesting. So basically, Plankton's annoyed, about his plans going wrong. And so his computer wife, Karen, says to him, yeah, it's always SpongeBob's, it's always SpongeBob who gets in the way. And you know what? When I heard that line, I was kind of thinking, actually, hasn't Mr. Krabs stopped him a few times? I mean, it can't be just SpongeBob. And I mean, sure, maybe I'm sure I know maybe Plankton teamed up with some other Nicktoon villains, and SpongeBob joined a few Nicktoon heroes, but does that really make any difference? Or I'm not really sure. So anyways, back in some kingdom, I guess Poseidon, is I guess is, we have Poseidon, who is, I guess, the villain of this movie. And, he basically, he wants a snail, to use on his, face because, he doesn't because he got a wrinkle. So, yeah, and basically the snails they have are, all dried up from using, so much of their goop. So, of course, he asks his advisor to, send out, some flyer about a new snail wanting. And of course, Plankton being reminded that it's SpongeBob always gets in the way, of course decides to kidnap Gary and bring him to Poseidon. So yeah, that's what happens. And wow. So anyways, after that, SpongeBob basically comes home, finds out Gary's missing, and oh my god. I know when this movie was announced, we probably were already thinking that this would kind of be like Gary, the Gary Come Home episode, but in a different way. But yeah, but I must say, the the moment where where SpongeBob talks about how he met him, and we get into the flashback, like the first flashback that takes place at Camp Coral, which is supposed to be, promote the new, which this movie was used to promote, promote the new spin-off. Although I must say, I was kind of starting to feel emotional. I'm like, oh God, no, please. Oh, come on. I've always had no soul when it comes to these type of scenes in movies. Although then again, maybe there have been moments where I felt a bit emotional, but yeah. And yes, I know. Yes, I have no soul when it comes to watching, sad moments in anime movies. I can even say the same for Disney moments. I never cried once, not shed a single tear. Or maybe it would feel sad, and maybe I would find it emotional. But yeah. So anyways, after that, SpongeBob, and Patrick go on a buddy trip and on a road trip with this robot named Otto that Sandy made, and tried to give it to Mr. Krabs, but Mr. Krabs kicked him out because Mr. Krabs thought he would replace him. And by the way, the robot says you're fired a lot in this movie. So yeah. And basically, Plankton just, somehow took him in after Krabs kicked him out. And pretty much it was basically, Plankton's plan, kidnap Gary and get rid of SpongeBob. So, yes. So they just basically drive, and they end up, and basically there is one moment where they kind of, talk about some moments that happen in road trip buddy movies. And when they get into a little fight, but then they make up after that. And I guess after that, a lot of crazy stuff happens, so much happens. So afterwards, I guess we kind of cut back to the Krusty Krab, and SpongeBob's of course not there, and oh my God, Mr. Krabs tries to get Squidward to make the Krabby Patties, and I just had to say this. Krabs, don't you remember the last time you had Squidward at the grill? Do you know what happens? Have you forgotten? So, yeah. And after that, SpongeBob and Patrick, somehow are in some desert, believing it's a dream, and and wouldn't you know? And we also get some celebrity cameos. I mean, we got Keanu Reeves as some what the heck you call it, and Snoop Dogg makes a cameo, and basically we got this whole zombie stuff going on, which doesn't even seem too creepy. I'm like, oh wow. Although, if I were younger when this movie came out, I'd probably be terrified if they mentioned zombies. No, thanks. But I just figured kids movie, they wouldn't do this. So yeah. And basically they get kidnapped by the bad guy, who basically, keeps the zombies prison from their souls. And basically, and how do they defeat him? Well, they use they basically open some curtains that were closed in the guy's office, and he burns to death, literally. And basically all the souls of the zombies are free. But then they get attacked by the bad guy again, whose ashes, somehow start becoming some sort of monster, wind thing. All that, so yeah. And yeah, basically it's all a dream. But then of course it wasn't. And then Keanu Reeves, shows up again. Which kind of makes me wonder how on earth that happened. But yeah. So, yeah. So basically, a lot of other stuff happens. They actually, they pretty much later end up in the little Las Vegas place, whatever it was called again, I can't remember. And Keanu Reeves of course says to them, don't get distracted, okay? But of course they do, and oh my God, They do lots of things, like they gamble, they have snacks, and oh my god. And of course, oh my god, SpongeBob and Patrick get into a fight. And of course, well, things, and pretty much they're knocked out afterwards. And Keanu Reeves comes back and said, you guys didn't listen to me. You should have said, you were supposed to, find your pet snail. But luckily, you managed to get to Poseidon's castle. So they're like, oh. And so they go there, and I guess they try to get into, they go to the entertainment thing and, try to, do a little performance. And then SpongeBob finally sees Gary and realizes, Gary! Which Poseidon, who had renamed Fred, oh my god. And pretty much, they get locked up. Then back again at Bikini Bottom, they then find Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and Sandy, finally see on the news that they've been captured and are due to be executed. So, yes. Yes, and of course Plankton, who feels guilty, for everything. And, finally got the Krabby Patty formula, but of course doesn't feel excitement by this accomplishment, and decides to make up for it by going with them to the place. And of course, he even explains, that this was his plan. Oh, and the Krabby Patty Mobile makes a return, but with a bit of an update. Come on. It can't be a SpongeBob movie without a big SpongeBob reference. Am I right? So anyways, the rest of the gang finally makes it. They try to save SpongeBob and Patrick, who are locked up, and they realize. So actually earlier in this movie there was this coin that they got from Keanu Reeves, and basically, Patrick ended up, I guess gambling for it, and they ended up losing it. And then Keanu Reeves again comes back and says, you didn't need that coin. It was with you all along. You had the drink with you all along. And he's like, you're right. We'll do it. And then, of course, a lot of stuff ends up going down. Anyways, the gang finally comes back. Anyways, the other gang, ends up coming in. And, pretty much, they pretty much, start a little trial for the execution. And basically, after that, the gang comes in and talks about, some flashbacks. Again, we got some stuff from Camp Coral. Although I did kind of say that this was wrong, and that, Sandy, you met SpongeBob in season 1 when he helped you thought that giant clam. And I know SpongeBob doesn't really care too much about continuity, but what are you gonna do? Come on, someone had to point it out. But I'm pretty sure we all did when Camp Coral was announced. So, yeah. Okay, so pretty much after that, they do a little bit of a singing of a little song. And SpongeBob manages to sneak Gary, to steal Gary back. Gary back without Poseidon knowing. But then Poseidon somehow finds out that they replaced Gary and be like, get him! And so they make a run for it. And then pretty much they try to get back, but then Otto gets away because he says, because I don't know, Plankton said, let's go, how about go, step on there or something like that, and Otto just drives away. And of course they of course get caught, but luckily SpongeBob realizes that then SpongeBob finally stands up and says that he doesn't want to take Gary away. So, yeah. And basically we get to this part where he asks Poseidon if he has any friends. And Poseidon realizes that he's a loner. And, of course, decides. Of course, SpongeBob tells him, I'll be your friend. And besides, you don't have to show people who you are. You aren't ugly. You're beautiful just the way you are. Just remember, beauty isn't everything. Yeah. And so basically we're kind of showing we're pretty much showing what he looks like. So yeah. So then after that, everyone goes home, everything's back to normal, and that's the end of the movie. So, yeah. Now I have to say, it's not a bad movie, to say for least. Like, I mean, it's good. And it's got so many good things, like great animation. And of course, it's nice to see the original voice actors. Although I did learn that, here's something. Now, I know Camp Coral had just been released and, on Paramount Plus. And, well, I haven't watched it, but I did notice something. Now, in the movie, the characters had the voices of little kids, but in Camp Coral, they had the voices of their same voices, but I guess maybe a little lower, but I guess maybe a little, to make them sound more like little kids. I'm like, oh, I wonder why on earth they did that. Huh. But, what the heck do you expect? So, yeah. So, anyways, that's all I gotta say. Now, if you guys want to check out this movie, maybe you got Paramount Plus, or you could do what I do, find it on Amazon Prime, because that's where I found it. I don't have Paramount Plus, and I don't know if I'm gonna get it or not. I mean, that's probably up to my parents, because they're the ones who, usually decide, which streaming platforms they want. So, yeah, anyways, see you guys next time. Take care.